Hey everyone, Hans here. Hope everyone is doing well. As you might be able to see or not see, it's again one of my night walks. Nonetheless, I bid you all Happy New Year. And this video is going to be about making that new year perhaps a little bit better. Let's just say that it might be the information that some need to hear to get some romantic resolutions resolved. So, I'm gonna see it. I cannot promise it's gonna be in one video because the topic in itself, even if I try to minimize it as much as possible, it's quite extensive in regards to talking about it. Even though the understanding should be simple once it's gained. Let's go with that. Or I could be wrong. That is again up for you to decide. So where to begin? The difference between love for tribe and the love for an individual. This is something that in today's society, by man or woman, gets conflated quite a lot. And maybe real quickly, I'll preemptively give a warning that if I sound a bit off, what can one say? Something ain't quite right with my nose today. But I promise you, I'll be fine. It's just one of those things that happens in life, right? So, with that out of the way. The love between tribe, or the love for... the love one can have for an individual, or the love one can have for a tribe. I'm just gonna jump right into it and start with boys, males, young men, or men. Manlets, on the other hand, they're a lost cause. What I often see is that you have young men, as they are looking for a partner, as they're trying to garner to themselves the attention of females, young women, is that before they have actually even really gotten a sense of what she is all about, what she lives for, what her interests are, basically before they know who she really is, they're already making up this idealistic view of what they want her to be. Oh boy, a light shot here. So what they want to be. Thing with that is that sort of in idealism about a person. What would be a good example? Maybe something along the lines of that you as a man want to be her protector, which is a healthy instinct. But being a protector, you're going to try to envision her as a helpless damsel, for example, or the one that always runs to you when there is a potential threat for her. Now, in a healthy environment, that is a thing. However, you take the individualism, if you will. I really dislike using the word, but it somehow yet makes it easier right now. If you look at her as just a person, the difference that you're gonna have is, for example, is that, okay, let's say you are talking with each other and you already have this idea that she's always gonna run to you for protection. You do realize that it's not gonna happen if you are realistic about it, because there are men that she knows better, her brother, her father, maybe even just a pack of, if you would call it like that, of older women that she is part of, a woman's circle. She will run for protection to those far sooner than she will to you if she only just knows you. And that is actually a smart thing. There are guys who would be heartbroken about that. And I can tell you why all of that takes place, at least as I see it. It starts with, first and foremost, the love for tribe is what you're putting on her in that moment. That zealous, zealous romanticism that you're expressing in that moment is actually the love for your tribe that you're expressing. Is that romantic? Yes. But it's about protecting your entire people. And it comes from a healthy place, it comes from a good place. So, by extent of that, when you have a real life situation where something dangerous or what have you, threatening happens, she doesn't run to you, she runs to her father, and then you're heartbroken. I know it's just a singular example out of a million possible things that guys idealize about, the women that they're interested in. But run with it, I suppose. So she runs off. Guy, you were idealizing this about her, and now you find yourself heartbroken. Why are you heartbroken? It's because, she thinks that you perhaps are too unworthy to be a protector. But that's not necessarily true. It's that she just doesn't know yet because the relationship is only fresh. But you've already have been attaching to her, idealizing about her, about the situation as a whole. It's not how it works. For your tribe, that works. For your tribe, you can say, I have an ideal towards my people as a whole, those that I belong to and belong to me. And I will stand up to protect my tribe, which is a healthy, normal thing for, well, also for women, but let's say in this case predominantly for men to do. To be that wall between your tribe, between all the elderly, all the women, all the children, and whatever threatens them, endangers them. Why it feels like your heart is being shredded to pieces when that woman doesn't pick you is because it's as if the entire tribe betrayed you. And if a tribe betrays you, especially for men, I do not quite know how it is for women, but I think as well, yeah, that is, in a natural environment, that's the end. That's the end of all things. That is, everything is gone. Of course that feels like it's crushing. Of course it does. So you have to separate that idealism is aimed towards your people as a whole, what you would want them to become, even in the moment they're just a bunch of whiners and unpleasant people altogether. You can still have that idealism that maybe that you can change that. Maybe you can be such an influence and inspire them to become, better themselves, to improve themselves. That you can be idealistic about, that you yourself are gonna, be their protector, as I go with the example, and that you'll gain acknowledgement for that, and thus the respect that comes with that if people recognize such, right? Again, I can bring up a million more examples of this. I think also the love that man wants returned in regards to just talking, companionship predominantly. You can expect that from a woman that you love. But the way how I often see these days is you expect a companionship that a tribe should give you. That on a daily basis or a weekly basis, however, whatever your personality sort of needs to gain confirmation that you're an appreciated member of the tribe, to that you get a pat on the shoulder, or that people come to you for whatever information. all these sort of things. Whereas for if you are with a singular woman, and let's go with that as well, let me explain that as well to what I kinda did before, somewhat. To expect from a single woman that basically, as I think is the healthiest way to look it up, is you team up with that person. And teaming up implies that you have to find someone that you can form a team with. What is a team? People that work together to go, and in this instance, to go through life. There should be loyalty there. There should be uh, companionship there. There should be the working together. But you can understand that in the basis as a team. And then above is not the right way to put it. Around that, that's your inner circle, and then the circle around is every one of your people, family, friends, acquaintances, and then beyond that, the strangers that are still of your people, right? If you can look at it in that way, I think, and it's probably going to be difficult, you are going to be able to filter everything better. You will filter your emotions better, and don't give me that emotions are nonsense stuff. I'm not talking about it as women do so. But you will have, a certain emotional confirmation, and you can put your emotions in, what you might say, in a structured way, as is typical for men. That uh, cuddling with a wifey in the evening or something, you can put that there. And then family, friends, that is, going to help them with whatever. Let's say a car needs to be fixed, you go help your friend or your brother fix the car. And then beyond that, if there is let's say anti-white show up with weaponry to lay waste to our people, then whether you do not even know anyone around in the room, like, you will still jump forward and put a stop to it, to what these anti-whites are doing. And the emotions that are attached to that, they will have their specific place. And then I think I can shift. Yeah, man, I'm already halfway. You know what? Leave it in the comments if you think I need to elaborate more on this. We're gonna do it that way. Yeah, let's do it that way. As for women, what I typically see is they want their man to be with them 24/7, which is the female equivalent of this idealism. And they demand that the man is always around, but also that he has a job at the same time that earns a lot, where, which is like that just doesn't work that way. Yeah, that is an unrealistic demand and expectation. And that the man is understanding and caring and a million other things, supportive in every possible way. But then here I have to say to that is, while it is okay to expect a man to be supportive, there is a difference between the demand from a single man that you're chosen to be with, that you ideally want to team up with, and the difference between community from which woman has demands. And that is okay. A good woman will also always give something back, right? Same as with men, I suppose. If they have demand from the tribe, that they also return it in some fashion. That is fitting. But yeah. So let's say you have a female and she demands that the man is always around, plus that he somehow at the same time is at his job, earns a lot, and is very handsome, which also doesn't always get along if you with certain jobs, what have you. And then also is funny and amusing, blah 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 blah. I think, and I can be wrong on this, and I'm just going to say that if there are women who have their specific thoughts on this, share them. I'm a man. I can only look at it from as I see it and speak towards that, what I see. What happens on the inside of women, that is more or less still something I will never be able to reach, and perhaps for the better. Okay, let's say you have that all these expectations of a single individual, like the man that has quite an intense demand, almost zealous demand of his woman that he's interested in. Notice in that moment that you're expecting your man to cover up as being, your man, but at the same time an entire tribe. I always find that the best way to look at things is to put it all in a primitive situation. Let's go with the stereotypical Stone Age that they depict, and I actually do not think our people were just ugly cave people with rags of skin on their backs. That is not how I envision it, and I doubt. Well, I'm actually absolutely certain that anti-whites put that in our heads on purpose so we feel disgusted with our ancestors, which is heinous. But nonetheless, Stone Age example. You have our people, they're sitting around the fire, and what is a woman able to demand there? Well, a woman can demand that her man protects her always. If someone else of the tribe gets a bit too godly for one's interest or whatever, it's not even necessarily ill-intentioned, but it's unappreciated, then she can call her man and her man will show up and they have a bit of fisticuffs and probably everything will be resolved after that. Let's go with that. But there will come that moment where, let's say, work needs to be done. Let's say food needs to be hunted. So the guys, most of the adult guys grab their spears, their slingshots, whatever it's going to be that they need to hunt, and they head off in the forest. Now what does the woman do? The woman is there with the children, she's there with the older women, she's there with maybe a few adult men that are just left there in case something happens, and the elderly. And here comes the big one. So that immediate protection and having children with the man, that is a reasonable expectation, and that man supports her, in raising the children, being them, an example as what it means to be a man. These are reasonable expectations that a woman can have of a man. But to demand on top of him that he's going to be pretty, well, to stay with the example, a guy that's going to hunt boar or whatever is not someone that's going to stay pretty for long. It's not going to happen. He may trip and have like 50 scars all over him, but let's put it like this. He may return with like 50 scars and bleeding from like 3 cuts. He's gonna have a broken nose, he's going to have a black eye. All of that can happen, and I can tell you, if you have that often enough, it doesn't exactly make one, how shall one put it? Doesn't exactly make one ready for a beauty pageant. It's not a realistic. Yeah, it's an unrealistic expectation, right? But let's say the woman wants beauty in her life. Well, that's why she has her tribe. She can beautify herself, as women like to do. She can help the other women with that. Entertaining, funny stuff. Well, how about the children? Just running around, giggling, laughing, poking each other, doing all kinds of silly stuff, and just finding solace in that presence. Finding amusement, a healthy amusement in that presence. Or just have just joke around. Just joke around with friends and family. You see how it's the tribe that takes care of those demands? And of course, yeah, her man can still be funny. Her man can still be many of these things. But he has room to do what he needs to do for the survival of the tribe, right? I think in that sense, I can explain it as best as I may. And then when he comes back with that, with that boar on his back, and his buddies are with him, and they need patching up, they need to be washed, or they need to wash themselves, all of that. They need to repair their hunting gear, or they need to, well, you get the idea, right? At that point, I would say I have depicted more or less what the balance between being supportive and, well, just having to be out there. That is somewhat what the world demands, but how women can resolve that. So basically, for women, what you should get from a woman's circle, what you should get from having children, what you should get from being part of a community in general, people outside of your immediate woman's circle, etc., etc., what they can do for you. Of course, I may well hope that you do something back. Yeah, something that is equal in return. Like someone gives you a pot, to plant flowers in, and in return, I may hope that you have the decency to, whatever it's gonna be. What is the equivalent of a flower pot being given to you? Maybe stitch up a nice dress for them, or repair clothing for them, whatever. Such things. Healthy things. That there is that balance, rather than the demand that that your man, that your husband has to be everything, no matter how impossible that is. If we, yeah, and as for, yeah, and I think I've also then explained in the meanwhile what women can do back in those expectations. I hope I clarified enough what the difference is between love for a single individual and love for a tribe. And it's not that they're completely separate, it's interwoven, right? Because, of course, at the end of the day, your partner is still part of your tribe. The children you'll have together are part of your tribe. It's just that the demands that you have, or the ideals that you have, you need to be able to say, this is what you can expect from your partner, and then there is that which you can expect from those around you. And I know today it's hard, the times are rather tough for most of us. We do not have that many people around us that we can truly trust, but I can tell you this much, that is up to you. And I've made videos about this before as well, where I explain it in full. The value of your friendship is a video I really recommend if you need to figure it out a bit more. But it does come down to, you need to surround yourself with people you trust and that trust you. If you can do that, you're well on your way to building all of that out. And then, yeah, just sharing, spreading out, I suppose, your demands that you have for yourself, what you need for yourself, and hopefully being able to reciprocate that. Because if that doesn't happen, everything falls apart as well, right? I mean, the result of that we see in today's society. If you're listening to this video, I hope you're one of those wiser people, and I think you are one of these wiser people actually, who realizes as much. I scratch your back and then you scratch mine. You scratch my back and I scratch yours. More or less. But not one individual to another alone, but your entire people, your entire tribe. Whether it is 5 people, whether it is 20 people, whether it's 100, whether it's a few million. It would be a very beautiful world if we can achieve that. And there is always going to be selfish individuals, selfish types. But again, then the rule just follows is that keep bad people out of your life. Leave room for the goodies. Leave room for that. And if you can do that, by default your life should actually become better. I would argue it will become healthier. It's actually something that I've studied a little bit. One of the surest ways that, for example, a junkie will stop using drugs is if you pull them completely out of the community where drugs are prevalent. Who'd have thunk? Who'd have thunk? So yeah, it's the same with harmful influences of any nature. I suppose there is just that you need to be brave enough to go out there. And I know for especially for women that is very tough because women need community a lot. But it is worth it. It really is worth it. And good people, that's by the way also the point I want to make. Good people will stay around you if you actually provide for them an environment where it is only other good people. Whether they have a few disagreements here or there, that stays in the middle. But really good people will stick together. Yeah, I think that's a nice point to finish on. Okay, I think I did it. I think I managed to say what I had to say. Is there something else? And yeah, it's gonna be, perhaps for most it's gonna be tough. I think it also yeah, here is one. I believe it will have to start with people to have the spine to admit that they were mistaken all along, that they might have been fooled, that this overzealous romanticism was going to carry the day for them, but it's not. To be able to say that to oneself, and that is the first step towards healing. And after you've healed, you may just after all find that wonderful woman or that wonderful man and live out happily together. Live happily together. In what is hopefully going to be a healthy environment. Yeah. Make sense? I hope it does. I think it does. It is definitely how I approach life, and I have been alone for a while. Let's say that, and I've actually mentioned that before as well in a video. I cannot remember right now what the title is, but to choose to be alone is also a tough one, especially for those who are socially minded, extroverted, I suppose they call it, although I don't like that term. Those who are socially minded, yeah, I get it. It will be hard. I know it will be hard, but you can do it. Because if you work on it, by that extent, you deserve to get it. Whether it's gonna be a while or not. Anything else is just embrace the good people in your life, reach out to them, see if they wanna reach out to you, and anyone that is harmful in any way, doesn't matter whether it is thievery, whether it is drug abuse, whether it is just being an anti-white in general, those people you want out. You can do that. Well, the natural consequence should be is that your life improves. That's and anything else is just taking your own responsibility and being a good person yourself. Is that hard? Yeah, it is. For many it will be. For others, easier so. Stays in the middle, really. If you make work of it, you will get it. And you've deserved it. There are many good life lessons awaiting for you if you are still working on that. If you're still trapped in an ill environment. But it's worth it, I think. Some might say you only live once. I do not think so. I think there is something as reincarnation, but in the European sense is that it's not that you return as an animal, but you do return as a descendant. As sure as you once were an ancestor, maybe then it is still worthwhile to leave behind the world around the time that it's your passing again, and by extent of that, how shall we put it? Well, I guess you just leave a healthier world behind you. That will only increase the chance that you will be reborn in a healthy world. And by extent of that, each successive life will be a better and a healthier and a more hopeful one. And that is a wonderful thing to work on. And with that said, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna enjoy my walk. It's actually getting a bit more light, so I'll be able to see where I'm going. That's good. And with that said, you all have a good one. Bye bye.